let's start really simple. Let's start with the basics, okay? I'm gonna start by talking to you guys about the 5 most dangerous approaching mistakes you can make that would completely ruin your potential interaction with a woman, okay? So this is just really basic stuff. This is fundamental stuff. We'll go a lot deeper into other things, but this is the groundwork. If you guys don't have this down, nothing else will work, okay? So the first approaching mistake is, and I would honestly take notes, guys, if I were you. So we're gonna talk about, I would grab your phones, I would take some notes. We're gonna talk about the mistakes, and we're gonna talk about how to avoid making these mistakes. So the first mistake is lacking awareness when you approach women. So before you even go and approach a girl, there's something that happens before that that is really important, which is your awareness. Understanding where is your awareness in the moment before you even approach. What is going on inside of your body? What is going on inside of your mind? Where is your focus? Because if your focus is in the wrong place, it doesn't matter how confident you approach, doesn't matter what you say, what you do, the interaction will already be ruined. Okay? Does anybody know why it would be ruined?
Can't calibrate to it.
You can't calibrate to how her energy is, or you're not, I don't know, you're not congruent with her situation, so you can't like match her energy to then like get her to open up.
Huge part of it, yep, totally. So the reason why not being aware will completely ruin your interactions is because there's so many little things happening within the girl's world that if you're not present, you won't pick up on. Just for basics, maybe she's on the phone, like you said today when you approached a girl at a coffee shop. Maybe there's a guy that left and is about to come back, that's her boyfriend. Maybe she is on a more like subtle level in a really bad mood, right? Maybe she has a really negative expression, her vibe is not in a great place, she's herself in her head, right? Maybe there's just a lot going on in the environment where she's in the middle of talking to someone, her attention is a little bit scattered, she's not present herself. So if you approach her without awareness, you are from a more external place not able to connect to her based on where she is right now in that moment, okay? So you can ruin really solid interactions by just simply not being aware externally. Now, there is another side to awareness, which is internal. A lot of guys don't take the time to check in with their bodies before they do an approach. Now, let's say you're so in your head that you don't even know that you're feeling immense anxiety, right? You've been pushing those feelings down, you've been repressing them, and you're like shaking with anxiety, and you're not aware of that. What happens when you approach? Does anybody have an idea of what happens when you approach? When you're completely unaware of your emotions? Not genuine? Okay, anybody else?
Nervous, not confident.
Nervous, not confident. What else?
Goes poorly.
Goes poorly, yeah. Yeah, women are extremely turned off by guys that lack self-awareness. Whatever emotional state you're in, we talk a lot about how it's fine, it's okay, as long as you're conscious of it, right? So it's not about the emotional state that you're in, it's about the level of consciousness that you're bringing to that emotional state. So if you're nervous, that's fine. If you're even really anxious, that's fine. If you're embarrassed, that's fine. But you need to be at a point where you have complete consciousness and awareness of that state. Because if you're not aware of it, you're just gonna be bringing that vibe to her, and you're gonna be so self-conscious and so in your own head that you're not gonna have any sort of connection with her. And that's where, when you guys hear things like women just blowing you out, them looking at you and not even responding to you, like not even really acknowledging you as a human being, like these really, really painful rejections. Not like a, hey, like I'm really sorry, I appreciate you coming up to me, but like I'm just not interested right now. Like a more genuine rejection. I'm talking about these like, hey, like get the fuck away from me. Like I'm not interested. Like women just completely like not even like even acknowledging you as like a human, that's because you're unconscious, right? So if you're unconscious, why should she be conscious with you? Why should she bring you any sort of empathy if you're not even connected with yourself? So that's the first mistake, is lacking awareness. Now, how do we shift that? Well, what we want to do is we want to, before you actually approach a girl, take a few moments to tune your awareness first within yourself. Check in with yourself, right? Take a moment, ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? That's it, just one simple question. What am I feeling right now? Will get you out of your head and into your body, right? And it might be a little bit difficult, right? You might feel resistance, you might feel heaviness, but at least it's gonna start to bring you out of your thoughts, out of your ego, and it's gonna start to build that connection between your conscious and subconscious. Okay, that's the first thing you do. From there, we shift our awareness outwards into what's going on around you. So then you ask yourself, what is this girl that I'm about to approach? What is she feeling? What is she experiencing right now? What's her mood? What's going on? Because you can read so many little subtle things just by being fully present, shutting off the mind, getting out of your own head, and just focusing on what's happening with her, tuning into her. Right? So the same way that I tune into you guys when we're doing the golden interaction training, I'm not thinking about myself, I'm focused on you guys. That's how I'm able to read all these subtleties. Same way when you approach. It's not about you, it's about her. And you're doing her a massive disservice by not taking a moment to get present and to become aware of what's going on with her, right? Now, on top of that, you could even go a level further, is like, what is this girl's level of self-esteem? Like, there's little things that you can read about how she feels about herself when you can get really present. You can tune into her, you can notice her micro expressions, you can notice maybe she's like looking around, looking for male validation in the moment, especially if you guys are approaching, say, at bars or clubs. There's so many things that you can determine about a girl before you even walk up to her. Because maybe you don't even want to approach her at that point. So that's number one, is awareness. Okay? Make sense? Awesome. Number two is stalling. That is the second deadly mistake. So when I'm talking about, by the way, being aware, I'm not talking about overthinking. I'm not talking about being indecisive. I'm not talking about sitting there thinking to yourself, should I do this? Should I not do this? Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? What's going to happen? That's all past, present type of inner dialogue. I'm talking about being here now. So there's a very stark distinction between being right here, right now, and pausing, taking a moment to check in with yourself, and then approaching, versus getting up into your head and overthinking, should I do this? Should I not do this? You guys see the difference? Totally different paradigms. Now, when we talk about stalling, why do you guys think stalling is extremely, extremely hurtful for you guys? And it's also extremely unattractive.
You go right up into your head
Okay.
and you make excuses.
Okay. Give me some more tangible things. Like, what are some tangible reasons why stalling is a big problem? What do you guys think?
No matter how you try to fight it, it's going to come across in how you approach. You're going to hear, even what I'm doing it right now, like you're going to hear pausing, you're going to hear uncertainty, you're going to hear, you're basically not going to across as confident.
Okay. Ryan, what do you think?
I say if you're stalling, she's gonna see you and wonder why you just didn't walk up. You're gonna
Yep.
be walking around like doing all kinds of weird shit, and then you're just gonna look weird, and then you're gonna approach and it's gonna be fucking weird.
Yep.
So that's probably what's gonna happen.
Okay. Cool. Anybody else? There's also a deeper reason here. These are all really good, but there's a deeper, like, internal reason for stalling, why it like kills your self-confidence.
You're denying yourself, one,
Okay.
and then, the situation, well, I was thinking external now, like, the situation will change as, like, the more you stall. If you were aware of something 2 minutes ago, you've been stalling, now you have to, like, catch up and become present again.
Yep.
But you're also just, like, denying yourself, and so you're saying, I am not as important, and what I want is not as important as going up and talking to this woman.
Yeah.
What's causing the stalling, I think is probably what I'm thinking of is, like, why am I even stalling in the first place? It's because I don't feel ready I don't feel like I'm attractive enough for this woman, and then it kind of feeds
Yeah.
back into itself.
Exactly. All really good points. So the thing about stalling is, like, let's talk externally, right? Number one, women can see you stalling, right? They could see that you're there, you're like this, right? You're overthinking, you're in your head, you're waiting, you're trying to be perfect. And all of those are signs of low confidence and low self-esteem, right? When women see you, the longer you stall also, the worse your approach is going to be. The more you're going to overthink it, the more you get sucked up into your head, the more analytical you become, and the more likely you are to get rejected, right? I remember, if I look at all my approaches, like probably over 10,000 approaches in my life, the ones that were the most successful were see her, go for it. See her, wait 2 seconds, check in with myself, go for it, right? All the approaches, especially earlier on, where I would get myself ready and worked up and like really like, hey, like, let's do this. We got this. Like, are you sure? Should I do this? Should I not? Like, all of those types of things always led to these brutal rejections. Okay. Now, the deeper reason behind stalling, why it's a big, big, big problem, is because you're subcommunicating to yourself that I don't trust myself. Now, ask yourself this, guys. Why did you even feel a pull to talk to her in the first place? The pull probably wasn't up here. It was in your body. You felt something. And we're going to talk about that in point number 5 a little bit deeper. But you felt something. Your body told you, hey, I want to go talk to this girl. Now, what you're doing by stalling is you're essentially telling yourself, I don't trust myself. I don't trust my mind. I don't trust my body. I need to be perfect. I need to wait till the ideal situation where there's no tension, there's no discomfort, and you're also at the same time, like kind of tying into what Brian said, you're putting a massive, massive excess importance on what she thinks above what you feel, which is at the core the definition of being needy. Being needy is not a behavior. Being needy is a perception. It's a way that you focus on things, right? It's putting the woman and what she thinks of you and what the people around you think and what the bartender thinks, what the cat walking by or the dog walking by thinks, way above what you genuinely feel yourself. Does that make sense? So you're basically betraying yourself by stalling. I want you guys to think about it this way. It's not just you fucked up the approach. You also tomorrow will have lower self-esteem than you did today because you stalled. I want you guys to think about it that way as well. Make sense? Cool. Number 3, apologizing. So this one is pretty deep. Okay, let's talk about what that is. One of the things that I see with a lot of you guys on the Golden Interaction trainings, and I'm sure it's going to come up this weekend, or maybe has came up many, many times for you guys as you've approached, is bringing this apologetic energy. This energy of, I'm sorry, I don't want to annoy you, I don't want to bother you, I really don't want to be a nuisance to you, but is it okay if I come and I approach you, right? Who's ever done that? Raise your hand. I mean, I've done it plenty of times, right? It's that apologetic energy. Now, this energy is a clear, like, just green, or rather red flag to women right in their face that this guy doesn't feel like he deserves to talk to me. Neither does he really feel worthy of talking to me or really belong in the situation, right? This really apologetic energy. Now, if we go really deep on this, what's happening is that you believe that you're taking from her. That's why you have apologetic energy. It's not anything external. It's not because you're not a good enough communicator. It's because you subconsciously believe that you are taking value from her by approaching her versus giving value. So the way that you correct this apologetic energy is a couple things, right? But the first is you just remind yourself, and we're going to talk a lot more about this, that I am giving value to her by approaching her, that I'm giving her a gift by approaching her, right? You guys approaching women is probably the biggest gift that you can give them. What do you guys think? You guys have an
Validates them in a way.
validates them? Let me ask you guys this. When you guys were little, right? When you guys were kids, who here feels like their parents really saw them and connected with them for who they are? Who feels like they were really seen by their parents and really attuned to by their parents? I didn't get that. Do you guys think you got that? No? Yeah, neither did I. So women crave that. They don't crave necessarily a Lamborghini or a guy that's 6'6". They crave someone who can really see them, right? You guys, a lot of you are thinking to yourself, oh, I gotta be this guy, I gotta do this, I gotta look like this. All that's good, right? It gets attention, it helps. It builds your value. But at a very primal core level, women are little girls inside. You guys will realize that. They have emotions. They also have self-esteem issues. They also have traumas that they've went through. And they want to be seen, right? That's why when you approach them versus just validating them the same way everybody else does by sending them DMs and just swiping, right? Because you're scared to approach. When you could approach them and do it in like a grounded, present way that's like you feel secure in yourself, they feel seen, right? They feel like, wow, like, I can't believe this guy actually like is talking to me. Like, who is this guy? They get really excited and curious, right? And that comes from you just at a core level knowing that you're giving to them by approaching them. You're giving them a gift, right? Even if she has a boyfriend, she'll remember you for like the rest of the day or even a week. You're gonna make her feel way better. You're gonna make her feel really special. You know that. Yeah, so another thing to keep in mind is this underlying belief of, am I assuming attraction or am I assuming rejection when I approach women? This assumption that you guys have will really determine the energy that you project, right? Because your beliefs create your energy creates your behavior creates the outcomes, the way that women kind of reflect things back to you, and then that reinforces your belief. So if you guys assume rejection, if you walk up apathetically like, hey, how are you? Or like, excuse me, like this like really timid, avoidant energy, they're going to obviously reject you. Because you're basically, it's basically like you're wearing a sign on your head that says, please reject me, right? You might not be saying that, but there's like a big fucking billboard above your head that says, reject me, reject me, reject me.
Sell that as merch.
What's up?
Do you sell that as merch?
You sell it, yeah, exactly. So you're basically selling that you want to get rejected. Now, in kind of like contrast to that, if you come in with the assumption of, I'm attractive, she's gonna be attracted to me, the way that I communicate's attractive, everything I do is perfect, I'm not gonna judge myself, I'm not gonna beat myself up, I'm gonna do the best that I can, and I'm just assuming that she's gonna be attracted to me. Because I'm a guy, she's a girl, girls are attracted to guys. There's not this game that you play with yourself beforehand of like, am I enough? Am I not enough? Like, I got to do this good enough. Like, none of that shit. You just approach, you assume you do things perfectly, you leave yourself alone, and you assume that she's going to be attracted to you. When you do this, you guys will notice a really big difference. You're able to be louder, you're able to be more direct, you're able to just be more authentic, you don't get your own way. So it's these presuppositions that are negative that are stopping you from actually like being in your power when you approach and that are causing you to apologize. Okay, so that's mistake number 3. Cool. Mistake number 4. This is a really big one. Some of you guys are gonna be like, yep, that's me. Performance. Okay, talk about performance. So there's a lot of ways that you guys can put on a show or an act when you approach women. You can act cool, you can act chill, you can act funny, you can act cocky, you can act smooth, you can even act authentic. You could be like, oh, I'm gonna try to act authentic, sound authentic. You could try to act nice. You could try to act like an asshole. There's a million ways that you could do this. But keep in mind, guys, that the underlying kind of intention behind you acting is, I need to impress her. I'm not good enough, just as I am, just like me right here. I'm not good enough. So I need to do all of this extra stuff to impress her. Now, how many guys do you think do this percentage-wise? 99.5, okay. What do you guys think?
It's up there.
It's pretty high, right? At least 99% of guys are acting in some way or another. There's some facade that's going on, some act that's going on. Now, a lot of them are not even aware of it, right? You guys are probably aware of it, much more aware of it than other people. You probably became more aware of it through this work that we've done, but most guys are acting. And how many women do you think, especially high quality women, that get loads and loads of validation and attention, do you think are tired of seeing guys that act? 100%. Yeah, you're close. Guys, women are so sick of guys that act, right? They get it all day long. That's all they've seen since they were young, right? Since she was like 13 years old, she's seen guy after guy after guy try to be somebody who he's not to impress her. Maybe that's with physical possessions, maybe that's with behavior, maybe that's with whatever, right? But it's just a constant performance. Now, if you're acting, does that mean that you can't get women? No, you can get women by acting. You can do it. But what do you guys think are the problems with acting? What's that?
Yeah, it has to end at some point.
The act has to end, right? Anybody else?
You won't build as deep of a connection with them, and they won't enjoy it.
Lack of,
Whether or not the act ends, it won't be as fulfilling or meaningful.
okay, lack of fulfillment, unsustainable, what else?
Also, probably drive you, you want to keep the girl, it's just driving you further and further away from your authentic self. It just keeps reinforcing that the real me isn't good enough.
Yep. So, yep, lots of energy used. Yeah, guys, do you realize, like, because I've been acting like my whole fucking life. Because I had serious trauma that I went through as a little kid that made me feel like I'm not enough. I cannot even express to you guys how tiring it is to always have to act, to always have to put on a front, to always be somebody who you're not. Let alone just the explosion that happens when I'm not acting the way that I want or that I pretended to act at first. Right? I could give you guys so many examples where I went to the bar or to a club, I put on this act, I put on this facade, things went well, this girl's into me, she's chasing me, she's qualifying herself to me, we're about to go home. All of a sudden, like my trauma gets like triggered, right? Like I start to feel extremely unworthy. I'm like, fuck, like, do I deserve her? Do I not deserve her? The act crumbles. She sees it. She's like, ooh, this guy's not who he showed me that he is. Maybe I should go back to my friends where I feel safe. He's not actually like a grounded, confident guy. He's not actually a leader. He's like weird. He's insecure. And that happened again and again and again, right? So that's the reality, guys, of acting, right? You might be able to act for like a little bit at first and then fuck up. Maybe you could act really, really well with a girl, especially that's like unconscious herself and who's super in her head for like a couple months. Eventually it leads to toxicity, right? Even if you guys get into a relationship. So what is like the antidote to that? And why, aside from just like for your own fulfillment and for your own self-esteem, is it so powerful to just like be raw? Well, first off, it sets you apart from everybody else, right? When you guys could be completely authentic, you're no longer playing the game that everybody else is playing, right? Most guys, what do they try to compete on? Like status, money, looks, outward confidence, like sure, like that stuff, cool, it's great, It's a good cherry on top. But do you really want to play that game? Do you guys think that like there's guys out there that make more money than you? Like if you're trying to play the money game, like do you think there's someone who's like a 9-figure entrepreneur? Yeah. Do you think there's someone out there who's like more famous than you, who has like a couple million followers on Instagram? Do you think there's someone out there who's better looking than you? Yeah. So if you're simply playing this like superficial game, and I'm not saying don't take care of yourself and don't work on yourself, like absolutely do that stuff. I'm huge on that stuff. But you don't want to play that game because that's the game everybody else is playing. And you're always going to be beaten in that game. Because if that's the game you're playing, even if you get that girl, the moment another guy comes in who's higher value than you, she's gone. She's gone. She's gone. Right? But if you have built a relationship and a connection with her based on authenticity and vulnerability, you're unstoppable, right? That's it. Like, because she's not with you because you're like 2% body fat. She's with you because she loves you for you. She loves how raw you can be with her. She loves how you make her feel, right? It's a different game that you're playing. And it's so easy for the ego to kick in and to take you guys out of that and to put you back on that path of trying to play the same game. Be on that same, like, you know, basically like rabbit, whatever that word is, you guys get it. Hamster wheel, that's the word I'm looking for. Same hamster wheel as everybody else, right? 99% of guys. So authenticity, guys, game changer, right? You guys have probably already experienced it. Little bits and pieces of it. But what I encourage you to do is step like even more into it, right? Even more raw, even more authentic. Like don't hold back. Like there's no side of you that's like not good enough, right? And I just realized this. And even guys, by the way, if you aren't at a level yet where you're super good at communicating emotions, and you guys will get there, and like really communicating intent, at least start by like accepting where you're at right now internally, accepting yourself just the way that you are. It doesn't mean that you're not going to grow, but start by just like I'm just going to be me, right? Even if I'm not verbally, like moment by moment saying what I'm feeling, like internally, I'm just going to accept that this is me, like this is who I am, right? Shifts the way that you come across. Does this make sense, guys? Cool. Resonating? Cool. Mistake number 5. Let's talk about that. So, mistake number 5 is approaching from your head. Now, this is a little bit different than the first mistake, which is not being aware. Who here, I'm just curious, I'm sure it's everybody, approaches girls that they think are hot based on how hot they are? Raise your hand. She's hot, I approach her. She's not hot, I don't approach her. Yeah. Do you guys think there's a more effective way to do it? Just approaching. Okay, she's hot, I'm gonna approach. She's not, I'm not gonna approach. So I did it that way for like probably 8 years. I was approaching based on visual stimulus. I was like, ooh, like, she's got a nice ass, I'm gonna go talk to her. Like, damn, like, look at her face, like, it's such a nice face, like, I'm gonna go talk to her, right? So what that does, guys, is that, again, you're only playing within a certain, like, paradigm, and you're also approaching from, like, a very superficial place. And I'm not saying this from a moral perspective of, like, oh, it's like superficial to judge women based on their beauty. No, like I care a ton about how girls look. Like I'm super, super picky and selective based on looks. Extremely. But if you solely approach from your head, she's gonna also reflect that back to you. She's only gonna respond to you back from her head. Does that make sense? It's like you're approaching, it's like all you see is like, oh, she's hot. There's no depth that you're feeling from her. Like you're not feeling her out. You're not noticing how what she's experiencing, the type of person she is, the mood she's in, none of that, right? It's like so like one-dimensional. You're not seeing her like as a human. You see her as like, oh, she's just like this like thing that's like hot. Which is still great, right? It's way better that you guys do that than not approach. But there's a new style of approaching that I started to play with about 2 years ago. And man, my results took off once I started to play with this and eventually mastered this. So this is what I call body-based approaching. One is the head-based approach. Oh, she's hot, I'm gonna go talk to her. The body-based approach is, it's not who I think is hot, it's who I feel attracted to. Very different, right? Because a girl could be hot physically by society standards, but I don't feel attracted to her. I don't feel anything in my dick when I look at her. I don't feel any excitement in my stomach when I look at her. I don't feel anything in my heart when I look at her. And yet, when I approach her, things don't work out. And I ask myself, why? Am I not good enough? Am I not attractive enough? Am I not tall enough? A lot of the time, it's like none of those things. It's just that you didn't follow your own intuition based on the approach. And guys, I'm telling you, when you start to approach from your body, right? I remember I give you guys a lot of examples, but one of them is, I was actually in Medellin when I first got there, right? And I was like just out of a relationship. I was getting back out of it, right? And I remember for like many, many, many years, I would just be like boom, 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 boom from the head, just go approach. And I was like, no, we're gonna do this differently now that I'm single again. I'm gonna like feel who I really wanna talk to. Remember the first girl I talked to, it was like this like Colombian girl, sexy as fuck, like super attractive girl, but it wasn't like a logical desire to go approach. It was a visceral desire to go approach. Like it was like animalistic. She like went into some phone store, so like maybe it wasn't the most calibrated situation, but my body was like, go talk to her, right? I literally felt like turned on. So I just followed that. Like I let that energy drive me. Like literally my dick was driving me to go talk to her. and I'm like, she's like talking to the assistant. I wait a second. I notice that she's like in the middle of something. She's like about to leave the store, and I look at her and I'm like so in my body, like so in my lower energy. I like look at her. I was like, hola. And immediately like she's like, hola, like, and you could just tell like there's that immediate like spark of attraction between us, because I'm just channeling that intent towards her, right? None of it is analytical. It's all visceral, that I'm just channeling this like raw sexual energy. And this, guys, takes time. It takes fine-tunement. It takes mastery to really learn. But I remember, Mike, you asked me about percentages yesterday. You're like, well, how many girls that you approach like do things work with? I mean, for most guys, it's maybe like 10%, 20%. And that was pretty normal for me before.
Pre-visceral body approach.
Yeah, from the head, right? For me now, it's like 80%.
Yeah.
80% of girls that I talk to, they end up like, hey, like I want to actually like see this guy again. 80%, right? That's not possible. And those numbers sound ridiculous probably to you guys, because my body will tell me who to talk to, who to not talk to. My body I'll tune in and I'll feel like maybe someone's attractive, but then I'll feel like a block around like moving things a little bit further and walking up to her. In that block, I'm like, okay, what is this block? There's something there. There's some resistance there to talking to her. And I'm gonna let my body be almost like a navigation system for who to talk to, who to not talk to. This doesn't mean that you don't approach. If anything, I think you guys, if you're just completely not able to approach, you start with the more like, hey, like I see you, you're hot, I'm gonna go talk to you. Eventually get to that next level, that body-based approach. Once I did this, guys, literally every single night that I'm out, for the most part, I pull girls home. Every night. Every night. Any night I want to go out. Right now I'm not going out a lot. I'm focusing more on this and on health. But any night that I want to go out, I could bring a girl home. Even during the day, right? Like 2 weeks ago, I was just like, you know what, need a break from business, gonna go to the beach on South Beach, gonna go for a walk. My body's like, go talk to her. I'm like, cool, sounds good, thanks body. Walk up to her, we have a chat. An hour later, we're back at my place, or 2 hours later, we're back at my place, right? How do I do that? How do I even know who to talk to? Because there's so many attractive women. You listen to your body. You guys want to like really master this? It's not going to be a skill set thing. It's going to be a deepening of awareness and connecting with yourself type of thing, okay? So these are the 5 biggest approaching mistakes and also the kind of paradigm shifts to get out of them. So thank you guys.